She said, please, can you just convince him to let me go?
In short, this is the story of what happened when pure evil crossed paths with innocence. There are two promising young people whose lives were unjustly taken by violent means and brutal torture. She's a gorgeous young lady with a whole life ahead of her, and he's a young man who loves his girl. The two of them headed out to a friend's house in Knoxville, Tennessee, to have dinner and watch a movie together. So Channon Christian was 21 years old, a senior seeking a sociology major at Tennessee. Christopher Newsom is 23 years old. He was a 2002 graduate of Halls High School and a Red Devils baseball team member. So, on the evening of the 1st of June 2007, Channon was sitting in the driver's seat of her SUV waiting for Chris. And when he arrived, he stood at the open door of the vehicle, trying to smooth things over with Channon about being late. However, these blissful and priceless moments were interrupted without warning.
Me and my girlfriend and my best friend came down here to Knoxville to celebrate New Year's with my brother. This is the first New Year's that he's been out since we were young teenagers, and I haven't seen him in years. And he had went to the penitentiary for carjacking. Years together, and Stacy Lawson, George's girlfriend, went back, and we stayed down here. My brother comes in, he calls me into the living room, into the kitchen, and says, "Hey, you know this girl I've been telling you about that I want you to meet? We finna go over here and meet her. She got a cell for me or whatnot, so I want you to come and meet her." He tells her we're going to the store. I get my coat. We leave. As we're walking out of the house, out of the yard, I notice Eric Boyd, his car is down the street, like 2 or 3 houses down the street. He said he's gonna take us over there. So we get in the car. As we get in the car, brother and is telling me about this girl, how cute she is and how she get money. She's a hustler and they want me to meet her. And says he's been knowing the girl for a while because he used to date her cousin. That's how he know the girl. So I'm like, all right. So as telling me about the girl, my brother is in the passenger seat and he's rolling up a wet blunt. So it's around dark now. It's dark now, and we pull into some apartments. So we're riding around the apartments, and we done rolled around about twice. I'm like, what's going on while y'all riding around the apartments? So he's like, man, it's been a while since I've been to her crib. I gotta remember which one is her crib. Next thing I know, we pull back in a parking spot. He's like, that's her apartment right up there. We pull back, he puts the car in park, but he never turns the car off. He puts it in park. He looks at my brother, and they both jump out of the car. They run right in front of where we just parked to this white SUV. I noticed at the SUV, it was a girl sitting in the driver's side and a guy standing at the driver's side. The door is open and they're hugging or kissing or something. My brother and they carjacked these people, and I get out of the car, man, what y'all doing? What's going on? What y'all doing? They pull out. He said, man, follow us. I said, man, what are y'all doing? I'm finna go back to the house. I don't want nothing to do with it. Y'all tripping, man. Y'all tripping. He was like, man, we finna go back to the house. We going back to the house. Just follow us. You don't know where you going. Just follow us. So I said, man. So I get back in the car. And I'm not knowing what to do, what's going on. So I'm not familiar with Knoxville. I'm saying, man, all right, I'm gonna follow y'all. We're going back to the house, right? He said, yeah, we're going to the house. Just follow us. I follow them back to the house. They park. The house is here. The street goes down this way. They park in front of the house. I pass them in the white car and park like 3 houses down. I start walking back up towards the house. The white SUV is facing in the area that I'm coming from. I can tell that it's movement going on inside the truck, but it's dark and they don't have the light on inside the truck, so I don't know what's going on, but I can tell it's some movement going on. So I walk past the truck, go into the yard, run up to the door. Boom, 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 beat on the door. Giovanni, we call him G. Giovanni comes to the door, like, man, you beating like you the police. What's going on? What's up? He looked past me like, oh, that's a nice truck, nice ride. Who ride that is? I said, man, you don't even want to know, man. These folks is tripping. He like, what you mean? I said, man, they just carjacked these people, man. They just carjacked these people, man. I don't know, man. They tripping, man. They tripping. I said, look, forget that. Just go and get your stuff. get a few things. Man, we got to get up out of here. This is not the place to be right now. We got to get up out of here. Where Vanessa at? But as I'm telling him all of that, my brother walks in with the girl. He got her by her arm, and he's put his hoodie over her, and the hood is over her head. Her eyes are blindfolded with a bandana. He comes in. Every boy comes in behind him, holding the guy. The girl got a bandana around her eyes and her hands bound in front of her. He comes in with the guy holding his arm. I noticed the guy has a bandana around his eyes, and his hands are tied behind him. So I look at George, look back at them, and I nodded at George like go ahead and start getting your stuff. So my brother looked at me. Then he looks at Eric like, yeah, go ahead and do that. I said, man, y'all tripping, man. What is y'all doing? Y'all tripping. He like, man, whatever. So as E and the guy turns to leave out of the door, I leave out of that whole little scene happening in the little sunroom. So I leave out of there, going through the living room, through the kitchen, back to the back bedroom where me and Vanessa slept. I went back there to wake her up. George is grabbing his things, and don't let my brother know what you're doing. We got to get up out of here. So as I'm telling her this, my brother calls me to the living room. As I come in the living room, I notice the girl. I come through the door of the living room. I notice the girl is sitting here against the wall with the hood is off of her now. I notice the blindfold is pulled down. It's hanging around her neck. The living room was dark. The light was off. The only light in the living room was the TV from the DVD, the blue light shining from the TV. So I couldn't really tell if her hands were still bound, but to me, I think they were. I think her hands were still bound. So I go into the living room. What's up? What's going on, man? What's good? He like, man, go get me some water out of the kitchen. So I go get the water. I bring it back to him. I said, man, y'all tripping, man. Y'all tripping. He like, man, nah, don't even worry about it. Don't worry. I said, man, y'all, come here. I gotta talk to you, man. You tripping. He like, all right, hold on. So he gives the girl the water. She drinks it. So then he comes into the kitchen. He's like, yeah, what's up? I said, man, y'all tripping, man. Man, what is you doing, man? Do you even know what you doing, man? You tripping. He like, nah, I got this, man. Don't worry about it. I got this. I said, man, how you got it, man? You just carjacked these folks and brought them back to your crib, man. You tripping, man. That's dumb. That's stupid. He like, man, I got this, man. I said, man, look here. Don't have the police come looking for me over some stuff you done did, man. Don't. He like, man, if the police do get involved, I'll take my charge. I done been to the penitentiary before. It ain't nothing. I'll take my charges. I said, you better. I said, man, and I think that's real effed up about, you know what I mean, how y'all got me out there, man. Why you lie to me like that? He was like, shh, I knew if I told you what we was going to do, you wasn't going to come. So that's the only way I can get you out there to tell you, about the girl I've been telling you about. I said, man, that's messed up, bro. I hope be your brother, dude. You supposed to tell me, man, don't worry about it. I got this, man. You sound like a little girl. You want purses and makeup? I walked out, went back into the back bedroom where George and Vanessa were. He goes back into his room. So I said, y'all ready? Y'all got y'all stuff together? I just want to get up out of here. So she said, what happened? I started telling her what happened, how they carjacked the people. So then my brother screamed, hey, Ron, what y'all back there doing? Man, y'all making me paranoid. Matter of fact, everybody come in the living room. I look around at them. So we go in the living room. My brother comes out in the living room. What y'all back there doing? Y'all too quiet. You know, I get paranoid when you get too quiet. What's going on? I said, man, we be asking you what's going on. You the one tripping. You the one carjack these people. Nah, man, I told you I got this, man. Why you still tripping, man? I said, man, you tripping, man. You got all us involved in this, man. You tripping. Man, look, man. I said, you know what? We finna go. We ain't got nothing to do with this. We finna go. You do what you do. We ain't gonna tell on you, man. You gonna end up getting caught yourself. Nah. Ain't nobody going nowhere. What you mean ain't nobody going nowhere? We finna go, dude. You ain't talking about nothing. We finna go. Nah. He pulled his gun out of his pocket. He didn't point it at nobody, but he just pulls it out. I'm like, dang, bro, you gonna kill me now? You pulling your gun on me? You gonna kill me now? I'm your bro. You gonna kill me? Nah, I ain't gonna kill you. But I'll shoot your ass, but I ain't gonna kill you. George, you know I don't like you anyway. I'll shoot you. And Vanessa, don't make me shoot your little pretty butt. So I'm like, I ain't got no choice. You done pull your gun out, say you gonna shoot people. I ain't got no choice but to sit down. He said, you damn right. So I sit down. He goes back into his room. He gets on the phone. He's walking back and forth from his bedroom through the living room to the kitchen, back and forth to his bedroom. Me, Giovanni, we're sitting in the 2 chairs by the kitchen door. Vanessa, she's sitting on the floor crying, saying she don't understand what's going on, sitting on the floor crying. So my brother has a credit card in his hand. He's walking back and forth through the house with a credit card in his hand. G gets up, goes into the kitchen, sits at the table, start rolling a blunt of weed. Me and Vanessa goes into the kitchen and sit at the table. That's where we usually sit at and smoke weed. Baby, smoke this blunt, see if it make you feel better. Alright, so I took a few pills off the blunt, but it didn't do nothing make me feel worse. So as we're in there smoking, my brother comes to the kitchen door. Oh, y'all ain't gonna smoke with me? I can't hit the blunt. I can't hit the blunt. George handed him the blunt. He takes the blunt. He said, matter of fact, come here, I need to holler at you anyway. I look up. He said, not you. I'm talking to G. Come here, G, let me holler at you right quick. G look at me. He gets up. They go into the living room. I can hear my brother saying, look, you know I don't trust you. So you gotta do something for me to trust you. You gotta do something, you know what I mean, so I can trust you. You gotta earn my trust. He had pushed G up against the wall or whatnot, so I could tell G was kind of scared of him. And G was like, all right. So about 5-10 minutes later, G and my brother leave. While they're gone, the girl is still in my brother's room. Vanessa's she's telling me her stomach is hurting. So she gets up and goes to the bathroom. I tell her that I'm finna go and check on the girl. I go and check on the girl, ask her, is she okay? She asked me, could she get some water? I brought her some water out of the refrigerator. When I went into the room, she's laying on the air mattress with her hands bound over her head. She's laying on her back. Her hands are tied, still tied like this, and tied to a duffel bag full of free weights and books and stuff. Same thing with her feet. Her ankles are tied. I untied her hands. Well, I didn't untie her hands. I untied the string that was going to the duffel bag. I untied it so she could sit up and drink the water. I gave her the water. She drank the water like that. She asked me what's going on. I said, I don't know. She asked me where her boyfriend is. I said, I don't know. She asked me could she smoke a cigarette. Her cigarettes and her purse were sitting on the bookshelf behind me. I could see a pack of red and white Marlboros on the book stand. Took the cigarette out, lit it for her, and gave it to her. She asked me, why were we doing this? I told her, it's not me. It's not me. It's not me. I don't have anything to do with this. Matter of fact, we're being held here against our will, just like you are. The only difference is that you're tied up and we're not. She started asking me, would I convince him to let her go? I said, I'll try. She said, just please. She said, please, can you just convince him to let me go? I said, I'll try. And she said, I'll do anything. Just please, just let me go. And she even offered her sex. She said, please, can you just convince him to let me go? I had her give me oral sex. She gave me oral sex. As I started to ejaculate, I heard a noise outside, and I heard Vanessa flushing the toilet. So I got spooked. I jumped up, fixed my clothes. As I ejaculated, it got on her shirt and some on her pants. I fixed myself. I fixed my clothes. I put her back like I found her, and went back into the living room and sat down. Vanessa came out of the bathroom. We sat there on the floor, just just sat there looking stupid. A few minutes later, Slim, my brother, George, both of them come back. They come back in. George was looking crazy. My brother came in, went back to his bedroom. George came in, went to the back, then sat back at the kitchen table. We sat back at the table. All three of us, me, George, and Vanessa, sat back at the table. About 15 to 30 minutes later, my brother came and got George, and they left again. This time, me and Vanessa just sat there in the living room. Just sat there looking stupid. So, my brother and them, they come back, spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The first time they left, they was only gone for like 45 minutes to an hour. This time they came back, it had been an hour and a half to 2 hours. When they come back, they both had on dark clothes. So you can't really tell what it is, but you can see a dark stain on George's clothes and dark stains on my brother's clothes. George went to the back and changed clothes, and my brother changed clothes as well. Soon after that, every boy came over. My brother came out in the living room. They talked for a minute, and the both of them went back in his bedroom. A few minutes later, my brother comes out and said, "All right, come on, I'll take y'all to Vince's house." So we all go out and get into the SUV. We go to the store first. My brother went and got some cigarettes and some cigars. And we go to some apartments. I said, "Man, what you doing? Thought you were taking us to Vince's house." He was like, "Yeah, I gotta check on something right quick. Hold on." So he gets out, goes, knocks on the door. Some girl comes to the door. He talks to the girl for a minute. Then he get back in the car, and we all go to Vince's crib. Vince wasn't there. So we all came back to the house. Every boy, he left the house. When he came back, he didn't have the guy with him. So I didn't know where the guy was. I didn't know what had happened to him. When we was younger, my brother would always tell me stories about how him and his friend carjacked somebody or whatever and took them to the ATM and made them withdraw money and left them tied up somewhere, but he never did nothing to them. So my assumption was they got the guy tied up somewhere, but I didn't think they did anything to him. Eric leaves the house, and we all just sit there looking stupid. My brother goes back into his room. My brother keeps the back door. It got a deadbolt lock that you can only open with a key. He keeps that lock at all times. He got nails in the windows where you can open it, but it'll only open like that far. Me, George, and Vanessa went to the back room talking. That's the end of Saturday night, going into Sunday morning. Sunday afternoon, the guy named Pimpin that gets drugs from my brother, he came over to get some drugs from my brother, but I don't know if he got any or not. He didn't come. He didn't stay at the house long, so I don't think he got anything. Time goes past. Sunday night, my brother's girlfriend Daphne comes over. He's called her on the phone and told her to come and get her things. So she comes over. I had forgot that she came over because I didn't really look up at her. I didn't speak to her or nothing like that. So I forgot she even came over.
He said he had clothes to give me that he got for me, and I had makeup still in the house.
Okay, so your intention to go back to the house was to get clothes and makeup?
Yes.
When you pull up to the house, what do you see?
I saw LaMarcus standing in like the sunroom, and the front door was open, and then we kept a blanket over the door going into the living room, and it was pulled back.
You see anybody else?
I saw Latalvis sitting in a chair beside the kitchen door, and he really didn't speak to me. He just had his head down, twiddling his thumbs or something. He didn't speak, and he always spoke to me.
So you go into the north bedroom?
Yes.
And why are you going in the north bedroom?
To go into the bathroom to try to get my belongings.
Okay. Where's Mr. Davidson at when you try to go into the bedroom?
He started following me through there, and I got to the bathroom door, and it was locked. And I asked him if Vanessa was in there.
Okay. Can't tell us what he said,
Yeah.
okay? But you tried to get into the bathroom right here?
Yeah, I assumed Vanessa was in there. I could hear water running, and it sounded like something fell into the sink or something. But I didn't hear anybody speak.
And were you able to get into the bathroom?
No.
What did you do then?
I tried to go around through the kitchen, through the other bedroom to go into the bathroom. And he grabbed me, wouldn't let me go back there.
Okay. Where was Mr. Cobbins at?
He was still sitting in the chair.
When Mr. Davidson prevented you from going into the kitchen, what did you then do?
We walked back towards the porch, and that's when he gave me the clothes.
And what were they in?
In a Sears bag.
Okay.
And he tried to give me money. I didn't take the money, and that's when I left.
Okay.
And the clothes that Mr. Davidson gave to you, you discovered once you opened up the Sears bag, they weren't new clothes, correct?
Yes.
And they certainly hadn't been purchased at West Town Mall that day or the day before, had they?
No.
And in fact, you now know they belonged to Miss Christian, don't you?
Yes.
So wherever that ring came from, Mr. Davidson was giving Miss Christian's property to you Sunday afternoon, January the 7th, 2007, correct?
Yes.
You need a minute?
Sunday night, he brings the girl out of his room, and I noticed that she didn't have any clothes on from the waist down, no shoes on, no socks. As he has her in the kitchen, me and Vanessa and George, he make all of us come in the kitchen in the back, utility room, make us stand there for a minute. So as we're all standing there, he puts his arm around the girl's neck, tries to kill her, tries to choke her. He lets her go and she falls. She falls to the floor. We're all thinking that he done killed that girl. I said, man, what are you doing, man? You tripping. Now we're all caught up in this madness. I don't want anything to happen to them. I don't want anything to happen to me either. So I didn't do nothing to stop it. I didn't do anything to stop it. When the girl was on the floor, my brother waved his gun at Vanessa, made her come and check the girl's pulse. And Vanessa said, I don't know. So then my brother gets mad, puts the gun to her head and says, you better know, you better check it and find out, you better know. So Vanessa starts crying. She's like, I don't know. I can't tell, I'm not a nurse, I don't know what to do, I don't know. He looked at me, I said, man, I'm not doing nothing. You might as well shoot me right now, I'm not doing nothing. He said, man, what? He looks at me and then looks at Vanessa and, man, well, get this bitch out of here then. Take her in the other room. I said, man. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this is our chance. This is our chance to escape. We can get out of here. So I said, come on, George. We going to the living room. She said, nah, George, you stay in here. You stay in here with me. I said, man. So we went in the living room and sat there. Vanessa's crying. I'm holding her, telling her to stop crying. Brother ties the girl up in a fetal position. So he ties the girl up. ties the girl up, put her in the garbage can.
In an attempt to wipe out DNA evidence, Christian's killers poured bleach down her throat and scrubbed her whole body with it, including her bleeding and battered genital area. And now, after Chris and Channon did not show up at the party, friends began calling and texting but received no response. Two of Newsom's friends later found his truck in the apartment's parking lot from which he had been kidnapped. After that, a driver for Waste Connections on CHIPMAN Street showed up at work at around 12:30 a.m. on January 7th. The man noticed that the lights were on at 2316 CHIPMAN Street, and that it looked like the house was busy for the time of the night. Upon approaching the house, he noticed a Toyota 4Runner with its porch lights on. Later on, the witness saw the Toyota 4Runner driving slowly by him. In the next 20 seconds, the car slowed down as if the occupants were taking their time to examine him. He saw 4 black men in the vehicle. There was also a witness who lived around 1 block from 2316 CHIPMAN Street, who heard 3 pops at about 1:45 in the morning coming from the direction of the railroad tracks. As of the 7th of January, Christian failed to respond to her mother and friend calls. So friends and families filled out missing person reports and checked local hospitals. Despite Christian's parents' requests for assistance, law enforcement told them to search themselves. When they contacted Christian's wireless provider, they learned that her phone had last pinged a Cherry Street tower. Families and friends of Christian and Newsom searched the Cherry Street area on Monday morning and found Christian's abandoned Toyota 4Runner. And that is when the police arrived and believed there is a serious missing person here. And as such, they conducted the search. The first thing they found was Chris's body in this ruthless state.
The original photograph taken at the scene of the body as it was found. Mr. Newsom was discovered around noon on Sunday. First of all, obviously there is a lot of thermal fire injury on the body of Mr. Newsom. This is that there was an outline of sort of like a cover shroud that the body was originally placed in. Some fragments of that shroud, which turned out to be comforter or comforter-like material, was originally on the body or surrounding the body. The upper part is really heavily involved with charring, and it was greater than 80% of the body surface that was involved with the heavy fire damage. And the reason for that is the remnants of the clothing was still present on the upper part, and the head was covered actually some sweatshirt, and there was some blindfold and a gag, and all of those kind of clothing particles, of course, attracted more fire and elicited more burning, as opposed to the lower part of the body. The clothes were not present. So this particular area, again, the several layers of the heavily fire damaged sweatshirt, and one area of blood staining, and that's because of the gunshot wound that was located on the right side of the head. Now, this is actually a very important image because it shows several things prior to the body being moved, and you notice later on as the body is being relocated and moved from the scene to the autopsy room that some of that kind of head cover fragments, because it's essentially just charred, and then it's very brittle and it breaks down during the removal and transport of the body. So that's why it's really important to see the scene at the scene as is. So you can notice that originally it was completely covered in the head in a couple of layers, and there was a defect in the sweatshirt. It means that Mr. Newsom was shot through that sweatshirt at the scene. The body is removed and comes to the autopsy suite, and that's where the autopsy is performed. The first photograph, the evidence 222, shows exactly the body as is, and you can notice a couple of things did change during the transport, and that's that there was, again, breakdown and fragmentation of the charred head cover. Number one, that the arm that was folded in the back, originally they were both arms actually folded and tied in the back. What happens is with the heat and fire-induced changes in the muscle cause the contractures, what we call like a pugilistic, like a boxer-like position. And that's why the right arm moved. Well, the left arm could not move because that's exactly how it was originally positioned at the scene. And I also know that both were tied here because there was some residual ligature, kind of ligature remnants still present around the wrist, number one. And number two, you can see there's a lot of charring on the back. Had the back been completely on the ground, that would not have happened. So obviously the arms and they're folded in the back, and that's why the fire has access to the back. The areas of sparing me, that these are the areas that the body is in contact with the ground, and then again you can see that the gradual involvement, more severe upper body, a little bit less where you have just that comforter surrounding the body, and then sparing of the feet. And then the feet have a lot of mud deposited on especially on the soles and the heels.
Number 224.
Now the close-up in the right side of the head is viewed here. Again, you can see the breakdown and fragmentation of the charred sweatshirt. It was tied and secured around the neck with a string. And then as that breaks down now, a couple of things become evident. Number one is the gunshot wound on the right side of the head that now becomes readily visible. There is also a bandana that was used as a blindfold that is now under the layer of sweatshirt. And also there's an additional feature, and it's the gag in the mouth. There was a sock that was stuffed in the mouth that was partially preserved under the covers.
225.
And now it's the features that I just mentioned. So, the gag, the sock in the mouth, partially is kind of pushed out because of the gas and edema or fluid that is coming from the lungs that can passively happen because of the heat exposure and the shrinking of the lungs because of the heat. And then it was secured, obviously it was secured with the kind of string that looked like the shoelaces. Partially preserved head, actually, face helped us with the identification of Mr. Newsom, and also helped us with the determination of the range of fire for the gunshot wound of the head, one of the gunshot wounds on the body.
226.
And again, the bandana, and it's blood stained because of the gunshot wound to the head that induced a lot of hemorrhage originally from the ear, in the mouth, and obviously from the head wound. So one of the reasons why we performed complete autopsy is, number one, indicate the injury, the damage, to document the damage. This particular bullet, of course, as it entered above what we call parietal temporal area above the ear, went through the right hemisphere of the brain, right half of the brain, and then went steeply down, involving the brainstem, one of the parts of the brainstem which connects the brain with the spinal cord, so-called pons. Those are the areas where a lot of vital centers are. So this particular bullet then from the hemisphere went to the brainstem, and that's how it crossed the middle of the head area, and then ended up kind of carving out or entering the base of the skull on the left side, and that would be kind of at the level of the eye, behind the eye, what's so-called Peter's temporal bone, kind of level of the eye and ear, inside the base of the skull. That's where the bullet was recovered, and it's a bullet that was deformed. It was a lead bullet, which I recovered. Now, number 3 just pertains to the fact that this was the and that, of course, lead bullet doesn't have any copper or any alloy jacket on it, and it was the first bullet because it was easy to access. As we made a Y-shaped incision on the body and deflect the skin, the neck is going to be the first area exposed, and that's why I recovered a bullet from the muscles of the right side of the neck. The third bullet or missile entered the body. So again, it's the beginning of entrance area of the third gunshot wound. Again, so the upper body would be here. This is now the lower body, and this is the left flank, left lumbar area. The defect in the middle actually is going to be the entrance gunshot wound, and of course because of the heavy fire damage, I cannot comment on the range of firing because it will be all obscured. Even if it were contact, it will be obscured by the heavy fire damage. So this is the entrance area of the for the third bullet. I see that Mr. Newsom survived for a short period of time. I'm seeing that the white blood cells are starting to gather in the area of the damage, and they're trying to enter the tissue. But they're not in great numbers, and they're not far from the area of damage, meaning that they have not migrated far. So I can say now with some sort of certainty, medical certainty, and kind of physiologic certainty that this is happening within the first couple of hours of the damage. So yeah, I can say yes, he was alive when this happened, and he lived for at least a couple hours after the damage because I'm seeing tissue reaction to the damage, but I know that he didn't live past those couple hours. So that's how essentially I'm trying to narrow down this time frame. So yes, he's alive, he lives for a short period of time, it's a couple of hours, but I cannot narrow it more than that. And after that, then he dies from the gunshot wounds. Or upper airway, and frequently with fires like this throughout the airway, and there was none. So obviously those two findings were a clear indication that Mr. Newsom was not alive when setting fire.
Raped vaginally, anally, and then at some point was repeatedly kicked in the vaginal area.
Well, in this particular case, histologically, I could say that one injury is older than the other. For example, the frenulum happened before the last insult in the anogenital region, which was that area of severe beating. And the cut on the hand didn't show any bowel reaction, so that happened around the time of that, or which means that what we call peri-mortem, around the time she died.
DNA that is consistent with Miss Christian's DNA to be consistent.
Sure.
And also inside in the interior of the jeans, Miss Millsaps found DNA that is consistent with Mr. Davidson in the crotch area. Would that be consistent again with Mr. Davidson's sperm being inside Miss Christian in her vaginal area or her anal area, and then putting the pants back on after Mr. Davidson deposited semen in her vagina and her anus?
Yes.
So one picture that I wanted to show that, as you recall from the photograph, the way how she was positioned and the head bent against the knee, there was actually impression on the forehead that was within the hairline, and that was because of the head being pressed against the side of the bin with this line here creasing the forehead and leaving an impression. Part of all the different covers on top of it. And then it's a better view. Yes, Exhibit 36. Again, it's a better view. It's a little bit deformed, of course, because you have an adult person now stuffed really in this bin. The shoulder area is visible. What you see here, some of the bags, actually the body was not just put in the bin, but it was in 5 different large garbage bags and then in this trash bin. And then some of the ligatures were applied to it, and on top of that there were kind of different pieces of kind of bedding and some curtain pieces, and so it was all on top of the body. What we did is, as soon as we kind of assessed the scene, took all the photographs and kind of get familiar with the surrounding and what could have transpired and how the body was found, Then our always suggestion is, and actually that was me there, our suggestion was just to put everything untouched the way how it is, just put the lid back, put it in a tarp, and then transport it to our office. And then from that point on, that we would then take the body and go step by step, try not to lose any evidence.
245.
And this is now in the back area, intake area of the forensic center, where the body came from, the intake area here. And again, it's in a sealed tarp, as is with the autopsy number on top. Record everything that was on the body present and around the body. And then what was also important is the finding of this particular bag, because had anybody actually disturbed and moved the body before or prior to me assessing it, it would have actually changed possibly the wording of the kind of cause of that. And the reason I'm saying is that there was, this is Shannon's face. She's kind of facing kind of down a little bit at an angle, and a white bag was originally tied in the back, so with the back of the head. The front of the, or the face is completely covered with this bag, and then the area that was tied kind of got untied as the trash bin was transported to our office. So obviously the bag, plastic bag over the face would prevent breathing. So that's one of the reasons, one of the mechanisms why Channon died. In the face, kind of getting untied in the back, some of her clothing items are visible, and some of the ligatures, because there are several different ligatures that were on Channon that kind of forced her in a fetal-like position in order to, I guess, put her in the bin. Just different view again. You can see how the face is completely covered with the bag. She cannot breathe like that. Also, she is really in a very awkward position, kind of in a fetal position, and that position itself would be very detrimental to her ability to breathe. So obviously that's another kind of mechanism that would be contributing to the plastic bag over her face, and that would be positional asphyxia. And then another thing, with all the items on top of her and the lid being on top of the bin, that would be a third component of this asphyxia, which is confined space asphyxia. So essentially she was not able to breathe with all those elements and parts of the findings. Placed the bin on the autopsy table, took the bin out, and I can see the 5 different bags. We took them essentially layer by layer, and then her body now as it emerges from the bags. Just another view again from the bag, completely covering the face. Obviously it was tied originally, now got untied. Ligature around the neck, and then some of her clothing items. And that's essentially the only thing that she had was that striped sweater and a little camisole underneath.
253.
And this is the position that Channon was in the bin. Essentially, this is the position in which she died. The ligature now better visible with the kind of semi-sheer curtain-like material bringing the knees and thighs close to her chin and forcing her in a fetal position. And then again another ligature looked like possibly some kind of thicker, denser curtain, or maybe even bed cover. It was hard to tell. That had some blood on it, and again was forcing her thighs against her belly to kind of keep her in that position and exposing the anogenital region.
254.
Now the complexity of this ligature is really better. The kind of semi-sheer curtain is better appreciated, and that's the ankles with bringing them to the thighs and the knees. Next to her face, and you can actually see the way how Channon was positioned in the bin, that the face, the left cheek was actually pressing against her knee. That's why it's all kind of indented. Another thing that is also important to notice is the distribution of so-called lividity, or settling of the blood after that. When one dies, then the circulation stops, and then the blood essentially follows the just kind of dependent gravity kind of directed settling in the vessels, and then from the vessels finally goes into the tissue and becomes what we say fixed. And lividity or that discoloration of the body, depending where the blood settles after that, essentially goes along with the kind of first 24-hour position of the body, because after 24 hours it's completely fixed, and it was fixed in Channon's case. Prior to that, if the body had the body been moved, that lividity could have shifted. So in this case, the lividity remained as is, meaning that most likely she was in that position for some time in the bin. Another thing that is also noticeable here is that kind of purple blue discoloration of the lips, and we can see that in a close-up later on, and that's essentially what I would call cyanotic or cyanosis, which indicates the lack of oxygen. That's why the blood if the blood cannot get oxygenated because one cannot breathe or prevented from breathing for different reasons, it won't get enough oxygen to remain bright red, so it becomes kind of bluish purple, and that's how it discolors the areas where the skin is very, very thin, or where the skin becomes kind of mucosa, and that's lips are a perfect example of that. So that's cyanosis. Sometimes you can see cyanosis in people who have like a lung disease. They can become bluish purple lips because they don't get enough oxygen. Well, that's essentially the same kind of mechanism here. Lack of oxygen produces cyanosis.
256.
And that's one of the photographs at the time of the autopsy. Now, the first part of the exam was actually done on the date of discovery, which was the 9th, January 9th. And the reason why we postponed the second part is that the crime scene specialists, they tried to, or they attempted to lift potentially some fingerprints from the body. Sometimes it can be done, the fingerprints from the skin from the body can be done. In this case, they were not successful. And one of the reasons, because of that premature accelerated decomposition and detachment of the skin, and also there was a lot of humidity in those bags that the body was positioned in, and that would prevent the fingerprinting on the body. That's why we see this kind of grayish brown or black discoloration. That's the attempt to fingerprint the body, which sometimes can be done. The identification photograph shows a couple of more features, and that's again that purple-blue discoloration or cyanosis, cyanotic appearance of the lips because of the lack of oxygen, and then also pressure mark with indentation on the left face, and that's because of the body and the head is pressed against the knee and against the side of the trash bin. The only thing that I can really tell that Channon could have died in that interval of like a late afternoon or Sunday evening to early hours, like a Monday morning hours, anything kind of before noon. And the reason I'm saying that is that because there are already some changes of decomposition that were there, so I would at least need some 24-hour interval to accommodate all those changes that I'm noticing now. They are accelerated because of all the issues that I listed, but again, that will actually bring me more toward the early Monday morning or late Sunday afternoon.
And the same thing with Mr. Newsom. Would your findings be consistent with his death occurring at around 1:45 a.m. on Sunday morning?
Sunday morning before he was found, yeah, it's an interval, a couple hours that could have been, I said, anytime around midnight. And then when I say around midnight, that's going to be, plus minus a couple hours. I cannot be more precise than that. It all depends actually on the scene investigation, who saw the victims last, and any other reports that are result of investigation other than my own.
And if his death occurred at around 1:45 a.m. on Sunday morning, what would be the range of time for that anal penetration to have occurred?
That happened within a couple hours prior to his death. So let's say he dies, and we say that it's close to like a 1 or 1:30, sometime around that time. That to be then bring that penetration around 11:30, midnight, I would say the latest.
In the end, George Thomas faced a total of 46 charges. Thomas was indicted on 16 counts of felony murder related to the rape, robbery, and kidnapping committed against Christian and Newsom, 2 counts of premeditated murder, 2 counts of especially aggravated robbery, 4 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, 20 counts of aggravated rape, and 2 counts of theft. Let Elvis Cobbins faced the exact 46 charges as Thomas. He was also charged with assaulting a correctional officer while incarcerated pending trial. In 2003, Cobbins had been convicted of third-degree attempted robbery in New York. He and Davidson are half-brothers. Lemaricus Slim Davidson faced the same 46 charges as Thomas. Davidson was originally from Memphis and had just, in August 2006, completed a 5-year sentence in Tennessee on a previous felony conviction for carjacking and aggravated robbery. Davidson was also indicted for a second robbery committed at a Pizza Hut one day after the murders. Vanessa Coleman was arrested by the Lebanon Police Department in her hometown of Kentucky. She faced 40 Tennessee state charges. Coleman was indicted on 12 counts of felony murder related to rape, robbery, kidnapping, and theft, 1 count of premeditated murder, of Christian only, 1 count of especially aggravated robbery, of Newsom only, 4 counts of especially aggravated kidnapping, 20 counts of aggravated rape, and 2 counts of theft. Eric Dwayne E. Boyd was arrested for the fatal carjacking. He was indicted by a federal grand jury in the Eastern District of Tennessee on August 23, 2007. The grand jury returned a superseding indictment charging him with being an accessory to a carjacking, resulting in serious bodily injury to another person, and misprision of a felony. Later, Boyd was accused by Thomas and Cobbins of the rape and murder of Newsom, and a search warrant was obtained for his DNA. He was tried on state charges more than a decade later, in 2019. I have no closing remarks for this one. It is incredibly heartbreaking and sad to learn about this case. Thank you for listening to the tragic tale of Chris and Shannon.